But shifting focus to something happy, is the second week of June. Most schools reopened today for the academic year 2016. Let's focus on how the stocks based on the education business are seeing this quarter and the broad trends in the industry as well. We have two stocks on our radar, Kokuyo Camlin and Navneet Education. Both stocks have clocked gains of nearly 85 to 95% in the last 1 year. So discuss more about the education sector and the companies as well. We have Mr. Gnanesh Gala, Managing Director of Navneet Education, and Mr. Shriram Dandekar, who's the Executive Director of Kokuyo Camlin. They join us to discuss what the outlook for the education sector is. Thanks a lot for joining in. I'll come to Mr. Dandekar first. So what is the trend that you see going forward in FY16 in terms of enrollment? The government has a target of about 39 million students by the end of 2017. What do you think the growth will be going forward in terms of enrollment?
As you know, that Government of India, even before and now, giving a lot of thrust on education sector. And we are well aware of Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan and various contours of that Abhiyan, So there is an increase, very specific increase in the education, school-going population in private educational institute as well as in government schools. And that augurs well for the overall education industry. And basically education, when I say education industry, it's a little broader term. Not that I'm speaking anything specific about my company, but overall education sector. So there are various tools, whether it is stationery, notebooks, or even educational books, where my friends from Navneet, they're the big company in that sector. There is very good requirement, and the requirement will grow in, I think, surely in double digits.
Okay, let's get in Mr. Gnanesh Gala, the Managing Director of Navneet Education, into the discussion as well. Good afternoon, Mr. Gala. When we look at the school industry from the outside, we see increasingly the use of, iPads, a lot more computers than what we used to. We understand that Navneet Education has also, gotten into a bit of e-learning. So, walk us through the trend, the shift towards, e-modules, the use of iPad, and how does it change the industry turf for companies like Navneet Education, as well as perhaps for something like a Kokuyo Camlin? How have you all transformed yourself?
So, yeah, we are in content business, unlike Kokuyo Camlin. iPad, or rather any digital format, it is little away from Indian point of view, particularly when we talk of masses.
Okay.
In the cities like Mumbai or Pune, Bangalore, everywhere the usage has started a bit in the school education system. We still are not sure the usage or the benefit of the same among the students. So therefore everyone are trying, everyone are learning. One thing is very sure, that digital is the way forward for the country, but it has still not really gone deep into the usage pattern.
Okay, so for your company, what percentage of the content that you drive would now be in the digital format, and what is the growth rate in the digital, in the digital content business vis-a-vis the traditional, form of business?
So as far as Navneet is concerned, we are in two businesses, content and stationery.
Right.
Content contributes around 55% of our 980 odd crore rupees that we did, and of which around 3% only is digital right now. And it is likely to grow more or less 50 to 60% every year.
And your traditional business would grow at?
Around 15%.
Okay.
All right. So, just wanted to know that majority of your revenues comes from Maharashtra and Gujarat. You all have regional concentration. At the same time, the business has seasonal concentration as well, because the strongest quarter is when the school starts. So what is the company doing, one, to mitigate the regional seasonality, regional concentration and the seasonal concentration as well?
Unfortunately, back to school season, I doubt we'll be able to change the seasonality aspect. But as far as regional aspect is concerned, we have already moved into CBSE textbook segment, and which we have already started marketing across the country, and we are very, very hopeful about that activity.
And considering massive amount of movement from schools in the cities to the International Baccalaureate or IB system.
No, Navneet has always been for masses, and we believe still 98% of the student population, they follow SSC curriculum. So Navneet has always been focusing there. No doubt, CBSE as a medium of instruction is growing quite large, and therefore we have now started concentrating on various textbooks to be used by the CBSE schools.
Okay, we'll come back to you about more what the margins perhaps are in the digital business. But Mr. Dandekar, coming to you on this transformation of the education business towards the digital format. How does a company like yours transform themselves in order to catch this fast growing segment? Because you all are traditionally in the stationery business. So would that hurt your traditional business?
We don't see in the near future it will hurt our stationery business drastically, but surely there are future challenges. I concur with what Mr. Gala said, that in educational instruments or stationery, I would say, because we are not into content business, still the usage will be largely even in a non-digital way. As I said earlier, the overall sector is growing, and when overall sector is growing, definitely the new digital age or digital way will grow, but as well as non-digital tools also will grow. So to that extent, I don't think in near future there will be any major threat, but surely for long term we have to think through. One more aspect I would like to just add here, because something that was discussed about seasonality, surely in our total range, scholastic stationery products do have a large presence, and they are seasonal. However, season, as we typically understand, schools will open tomorrow or this week, especially in western Maharashtra or western part of India, and maybe a month later in northern part of India. The season actually spreads for a company like us, which has a national presence. It spreads right from, it starts with April for pre-season business and rolls over up to July and August. So, it's a 4 or 5 months of period.
All right. Coming back to Mr. Gala, then you also have a e-learning. You have a school, the Leap School. Now, as we understand, that Kokuyo Camlin exited that business on account of losses. So, just a word on how the performance of your business is doing in the school, Leap.
Sure. Leap business actually is not our business initiative per se. There is no major focus there. It is actually to understand the mindset of the pupils or the small kids and accordingly bring out the products required for them. And so that is really not a business model that we are running right now. Though we have around 5 odd schools with us, only preschools, so we are not going to really grow that also further.
All right. And as far as your margins are concerned, then we see your margins improving, but there is also a lot of competition in the stationery segment, in also the book segment, ITC's classmate, because ITC has a massive thrust on getting into the non-tobacco revenue as well. So how do you plan to protect your margins going forward?
So I fully agree that as far as stationery business in domestic markets are concerned, there is huge pressure from the organized sector as well as unorganized sector. But then also our major revenue which comes from our core areas, we believe we should be able to grow by 10-12%. We are not really focusing very high growth there. As far as margins or the competition in content business is concerned, it is not as severe as we see in the stationery. So we are very confident about maintaining the margins.
Okay. Mr. Dandekar, would you like to respond that there is, pressure both from the organized as well as from the inorganized market in the stationery business, and what, according to you, will be the key growth drivers for the industry in FY16?
Sorry, I didn't get your first part of the question. I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted you to respond.
Something organized or not?
Yeah, I just wanted you to respond to, Mr. Gala's comment when he said that there are pressures in the stationery business. So I wanted your response on that, as well as just one final word on the FY16 outlook for the industry.
Yeah, as the market size is growing, number of players are growing. As the number of players are growing, number of product offerings are growing. As the number of product offering and number of players are growing, there is a margin pressure and there is a pressure on market presence or market share. So surely in traditional stationery segment there are margin pressures. However, one thing I'm seeing in last 10 years or so, and we will see it more in next few years, that maybe the share of unorganized sector is reducing and many people are getting organized or those who are already organized, their share is growing in terms of market share. And we continue the same thinking or vision.
All right. Thanks a lot for joining in, gentlemen. That was quite an educational discussion on the education sector.